Hi, I'm Dr. Dustin Gay. I'm a local orthopedic surgeon with Houston Clinic Orthopedics, and we'd really like to invite everybody to come out to our new office facility to take a look at it. It's a larger space with physical therapy, and we're just excited to have it, and we'd love for people to come out and visit us.
Come by and see us today at our brand new location, the Houston Clinic, Medical Drive in Dublin.
Allen's Heating and Cooling is your licensed Amana equipment dealer. Trust Allen's Heating and Cooling to install and service your heating and air conditioning unit. Allen services all brands, and with the purchase of a new unit, Amana offers a lifetime compressor warranty. Sean Clark or any of his friendly staff can help you today at Allen's Heating and Cooling. Your Amana dealer. Amana, last and last and last.
At Dublin Chevy GMC, we have shipments arriving daily. Whether it's Silverados, Yukons, or Tahoes, we have the ride for you. As a matter of fact, I'm doing everything I can to get the trucks ready for you. Whether it's a Blazer or a Terrain or any other crossover, we have the Chevy or GMC for you. And with rates as low as 2.99 on new Silverados, there's never a better time to buy. And remember, Don sells cars well, only at Dublin Chevrolet.
Welcome everybody. I'm glad to have with me today Brian Bazemore, the president of Community Bank. And Brian, I want to talk to you today. We talked last week at the Joint Civic Luncheon. What a great St. Patrick's.
Oh, it was wonderful. Man, what a great way to have community come together.
Absolutely. And you know, I always compare it to the Cherry Blossom. Cherry Blossom pays a lot of their leaders, and as you know this, you volunteered for years. Yes. It's all volunteer.
Completely volunteered. And you start planning at the beginning of the year and work all the way through. Right after the festival ends, it's time to start planning again. So.
Yeah, Tammy Warwick and Randy Stone will be our co-chairmans next year. And I was talking to them the other day. They said, James, we already working on next year.
That's right.
That'll be our 50. Now we're closing on the 60th. This year was 58, and it just amazes me. I can remember as a young child, I remember being in the St. Patrick's Parade in the late 60s, and my mom took me over to Dunn's department store downtown. I know that probably ring a bell with you, but a lot of young people have no idea what I'm talking about. But that was when everything was downtown, though.
That's right.
Everything, Woolworths and Belk and McClellan's and on and on. But anyway, I want to talk to you. There's a lot of conversation around town and in the national news about the banking system. You know, we had the Silicon Valley, Signature Bank in New York, First Republic, and other banks are hinting at even Swiss Bank, which is a major bank. And I've saw where other banks, Bank of America, Citibank and all, have basically chipped in some money to the tune of about $30 billion, which is a lot of money around my house, but to try to save one of the banks and its depositors. And a lot of people around town are talking about that. So should we worry in Dublin and Lawrence County?
I don't think that any of the citizens in Dublin-Laurens County have anything to worry about with their local banks. Any of their local banks here seem to be very secure. One of the good things about community banks, and that's what we consider ourselves as a small community bank, one of the good things is that we know our customers. We don't go and invest in speculative type investments. We don't make loans way out of our territory. We're familiar with local events. We're familiar with our economy and the way when we deal with growth and when we have things that happen in our community that is negative. You know, we also are familiar with those issues. So we don't get involved as a small community bank in a lot of speculative ventures. I think the issues that we saw on the news with Silicon Valley Bank and the others is the fact that most of the depositors at those banks were large depositors. Most smaller banks have customers with deposits on hand that are $250,000 or less. Probably 90% of most banks have depositors at $250,000 or less. Those banks were unique. The majority of their depositors had deposits in the bank of $250,000 or more. Totally opposite of what a normal bank dynamic would be. So we had an issue where the banks had depositors that came in and withdrew large deposits, causing the bank to have to sell off some of their securities at a major loss. Securities right now are not doing really well. If you've got securities, most banks have securities, and that's a way to secure funding, or it's a way for municipalities or for other customers, things like that. But they're not doing really well. So if you have to sell those off prior to maturity right now, the bank's going to take a large hit. So that's it. That's what ended up happening. And then they had to reach out for additional capital. Silicon lost about $1.8 billion. So they had to go and try to raise about $2 billion, and so that drew red flags for other depositors. So then there started to become like a run on the bank. And that caused a lot of financial problems, and the FDIC wanted to step in and try and prevent any loss to the customers.
Yeah, when you have a run on a bank, it reminds me of A Wonderful Life.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was a different day, I know, and I know it was a movie, but we know what it's like to have a run on bank. But basically, we can't compare ourselves to Silicon Valley because they did a lot of, just by their area, a lot of risky, and I don't know their investments, but the Bitcoins of the world that are very, very risky. And then, like you said, you have to sell off those securities, which aren't doing good to start off with. And you're just compounding things. Though.
That's right. I will say this, and I feel like that the Department of Banking and Finance here in Georgia does an excellent job at trying to keep track of all of our local banks here in the state. I've actually had them reach out, and they wanted to find out from us, what are we doing with our liquidity plan, things like that. They want to make sure that the banks are sound, that if we had an issue come up, are we able to sustain that? And what contingency planning does the bank have in order to weather a storm if we had something come up? So they monitor us, and most banks are on about an 18-month cycle between the state and whoever their other regulatory agency is, which ours is the FDIC. And they come in and they check the bank for safety and soundness, for Bank Secrecy Act, for fair lending, and compliance, and all of those things, so that they make sure that our banks are safe and sound.
Yeah, and you want them to come in. We all need checks and balances.
Absolutely.
Not that you're trying to do something wrong, but we all make mistakes.
That's right.
And you need those auditors to come in and do that. And I really look back at the 2007 era where, the bubble pretty well busted on mortgage and secondary. Banks were loaning money to people who pretty well should have known going in they couldn't afford to pay for it.
Right.
So, none of the banks here were really affected. We made it through that, and that showed us how, I think our local banks are really conservative.
Yes.
You agree or disagree?
I 100% agree. I think we have, most of the banks locally have excellent underwriting. I think if you look online, which anybody can do investigative work themselves to determine whether their bank is safe and sound, well capitalized, all of those things, they can pull it up on the FFIEC website. And that's where all of the call report information is reported. So if you ever question, whether your bank is safe and sound and whether you should place deposits in that bank, look the information up. It costs you nothing. You can pull it up anytime and be able to look and see the financial stability of your institution.
Yeah, and I look at those numbers, and I tell people sometime when another bank opens here in our market. Well, James, why we need another bank? I said, you must not have been online and looked at the money on deposit in Lawrence County. There is a lot of money in the banks in Lawrence County. There's a lot of people who that are watching us right now that worked hard all their life. They saved their money. And I'm talking about just middle-class people that didn't go out and waste money on eating out every night or buying a new car every year, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But as my dad taught us at an early age, he said, if you eat out all the time and buy a car every year, you ain't never going to save no money. And he's right. He was absolutely right. I wish I'd listened more back then.
I do too.
But I finally caught on. But it is all public. So Brian's exactly right about that. I want to switch gears a little bit. Y'all, after we lost Chuck Harwell, the president of the bank, y'all started a scholarship for the local high schools. Tell me how that's going. How can people contribute, and tell me about it.
Well, we felt like that after Chuck's passing, we felt like we wanted to do something special. We wanted to be able to have Chuck's name remembered in the community for years to come, hopefully forever. Mm-hmm. So we formed the Chuck Harwell Foundation, and with that, we allow any of the anybody that would like to contribute to it. They can send a check in and they can address it to have it deposited into that particular account. But we try to give away 5 scholarships every year. And that's for Dublin High School, for East Laurens High School, West Laurens High School, and for Trinity, also Bleckley County High School. Mm-hmm. So we have, Chuck had affiliation in both counties. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to also, that's where our main office is out of the Bleckley County area. But we have been very fortunate to have many donations from our community. Many people love Chuck Harwell.
Amen.
And I know he was a best friend to me and a mentor, and helped guide me to be able to assume the position that I'm in today. Yeah. I owe that to him. Yeah. But we have been doing very well. Last year we were able to give away 5 scholarships at all of these schools. This year we look like we're on track to be able to do the exact same thing again. We did have to extend our deadline to receive the scholarship applications, and all of the school counselors have the applications, and we have applications here at Community Bank of Dublin-Laurens County here in Dublin. So if anybody would like to get an application and apply, they can. But hopefully we will be able to give away one to each of these schools again this year. We do have the funds available, and we do try to give out these scholarships every year. But we've got a good number of applicants this year, so we're really excited about that.
I want to go back just a second. And so many people watching today, and there's so many in our community that can say, Chuck was my friend. He was a dear friend of his mom and dad, same thing. But I don't know if we could search far and wide and couldn't find anybody that was as close as you and Chuck was. So on a personal level, how did you work through that? I know it was devastating to all of us, but you're having to deal with it as his friend, and then the business must carry on. How did you balance that?
It was very, very tough. I think that had Chuck not mentored me the way that he did, had he not sent me to the schools that he sent me to, had I not received the ongoing educational background that was provided by the bank and Chuck, and having the support of our holding company and owner, Chip Benton, I really don't know how I could have done it. It was a situation where he was not really a father figure. He wasn't old enough for that. He was not really a brother figure, but just really a best friend. And, we'd had lots of conversations about, I said, Chuck, I never want your job, never want that. But, who knows what God has in plan for each one of us. And so I feel like that for whatever reason, I was placed in this position. Very grateful for the position, but I would not have gotten it under the same I wouldn't have wanted it under the same circumstances. It was very hard trying to pick up the pieces, trying to keep the organization running. Very difficult, but with the grace of God and His power and strength, that's what got me through.
Amen. He tells us in His Word, He directs our steps. And even in those times where Chuck was invested in you, you was invested in the company, going to school, continuously training, God was directing your steps in a manner that you had no idea. Even as we sit here today, God's directing our steps, and we don't know what our future holds.
That's right.
So I hope we can all learn from the life of Chuck Harwell and Mr. Ray and Miss Harwell, just salt of the earth.
Yes.
We
just lost Miss Francis.
Yes, I know. It's that was going through my mind there. That when I saw that, it was tough. I know. And Mr. Ray just. Wonderful person. I don't think anybody loves the Dublin-Irish.
Oh, yeah. Super fan.
Mr. Ray. So, well, Brian, thank you for talking to me today. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, and when I asked you last week, you didn't hesitate, and I know you don't like doing these things, but you did it anyway. So that shows what kind of commitment you got here at Community Bank.
Well, we appreciate TV 35, and I appreciate all that you do to help us through the issues and the things that we face in our community, and bringing all of these things to light and help educate, Dublin and Lawrence County.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for joining us today right here on TV 35.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense.
Ask Curry Maffett Insurance in Dublin if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Badcock Home Furniture and More is your home store, where you'll find great savings on new living room sets, sofas, love seats, recliners, and more. Badcock Home Furniture and More has great savings every day on bedding and bedroom sets. Shop Badcock Home Furniture and More for a great selection of dining room sets, and save every day on electronics and appliances at Badcock Home Furniture and More, 1927 Highway 441 South in Dublin. Call 275-3144 for more information, or stop by and see Wendy and Tim Sumner or any of their friendly staff today at Badcock and More Home Furniture Store, where no credit is ever refused. Hometown Supply is welcoming in spring with a bigger and better selection of zero-turn mowers, blowers, string trimmers, and a complete line of power tools for the yard.
Hometown Supply has all of your lawn and garden equipment, from zero-turn mowers to string trimmers and blowers. We carry all major parts and offer service and repair, so come see us at Hometown Supply.
And remember, Hometown Supply has a large selection of new and used appliances.
And remember, if you can't do business at Hometown Supply, you just can't do business.